Tail of the tape for the middleweight championship battle between Felix Trinidad and Bernard Hopkins. And you see the difference in age. Trinidad the younger by 8 years. Hopkins with a 2-inch height advantage, rare if ever. The situations where Trinidad has gone into the ring and faced a taller man. 3-inch reach advantage, however, for Tito. And they both weighed in well under the 160-pound limit after having spent 2.5 weeks at or near the weight limit, a highly unusual experience for fighters.
Introducing to you first on my left, fighting out of the red corner, wearing red, white, and blue trunks, hailing from and representing Coupe Alto, Puerto Rico. He weighed in at 158.5 pounds. He is undefeated in his campaign in the ring with 40 wins, no losses, 33 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the 5-time world champion in 3 weight divisions, the current WBA middleweight champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome El Gran Campeón Puertorriqueño, introducing Felix Tito Trinidad. And his opponent across the ring on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trunks with silver trim, fighting out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He weighed in at a trim and ready 157 pounds. His record stands at 39 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, with 28 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, he is making the 14th defense of his title. Here is the WBC and IBF middleweight champion of the world, introducing Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
Gentlemen, we're giving you instructions at the weigh-in, both in English and Spanish. Please obey my commands. Protect yourself at all times. Respect the bell. Touch gloves. Touch them up. Respect, respect. Touch him, Bernard.
Bernard Hopkins claims he wants to test Trinidad's chin in the first round. Trinidad's father says his son is going to knock Hopkins out in the first round. Sometimes all that is just talk. Sometimes it means real fireworks from the opening bell. Trinidad knocked Joppy down in the first. He knocked Vargas down twice in the first.
Trinidad can't be waiting with this boxer. He's got to get off. Bernard Hopkins' job is to stay close, make this guy discouraged, make him look to the referee and start complaining early. Because that referee's speech didn't impress me at all.
Hard right hand over the top by Hopkins.
Trinidad likes to have room when he throws his punches. It's up to Hopkins to stay close as he can.
Hopkins prizes his skills as an infighter. Many experts expect that Hopkins at some point will try to get up into Trinidad's chest and take away his punching range.
And he hasn't done that yet. The old saying is, Oscar De La Hoya moved, I'm going to move. But yet, that's not the way to fight Trinidad, because you lose energy as the rounds go on.
As De La Hoya learned. You always compare him to a sprinter, the way he gets up on that front foot.
He's on the mark. And Hopkins' job is to keep him off the mark.
Trinidad lands a left hook as Hopkins backs away from their first chest-to-chest clinch. Hopkins tries to go inside again, working to try to get at Trinidad's body. Both fighters try lead right hands.
Hopkins just not figured yet how to get close. Now he's got it. He's got to keep it just like that. That's the fight he won.
Holding with the left hand upstairs as he hit with the right hand downstairs. Smoker hasn't yet been a part of the action. He's the third man in the ring, the referee.
Bernard Hopkins want to keep hugging and pushing this guy. Keep this a wrestling match in his favor.
Right hand inside by Bernard. Hopkins again lands a right. Trinidad misses his. Hopkins lands his own. Round one is a bit of a scuffle. Hopkins got a little of what he wanted and landed 2 right hands. By CompuBox numbers, it was a missed punch fest. Trinidad was 4 out of 27. Hopkins was 6 out of 43, according to CompuBox. George, is it fair to guess that Hopkins either wants to be way outside or way inside?
Yeah, he just hasn't figured out this guy yet. Trying to get relaxed in there, and that's the hard job, to move around. He's not comfortable moving, I can tell you that. Trinidad needs room, and that benefits Trinidad when the fight is at long range.
Trinidad threw a limited number of punches for him in round one. Now he lands a right hand across the top. Trinidad trying to close the range down and step in on Hopkins.
That's what you don't want to do with
You thought that Hopkins would gamble more against Trinidad early?
Just jump right on him. He said he wasn't afraid. Talking the talk, now you got to jump on him.
Hopkins beginning to unveil his jab and sticking it accurately for the moment.
Once he tastes any of Trinidad's power, then you're really going to see the motorboat move. Hopkins can see that Trinidad only want to land a hard shot, nothing else. And that's a dangerous position to be in when you're in the ring with a guy, knowing that he's intent.
Hard right hand by Hopkins. Biggest blow of the fight. Trinidad momentarily stunned.
Bell, 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 bell. Bell, bell, bell. Hopkins has been working at distance with his jab, hoping to get Trinidad to come to him. Found him in range. The punch was a little high. Trinidad might have been momentarily stunned, but took the punch well.
CompuBox numbers in round two. Hopkins 10 out of 40. Trinidad 2 out of 19. So Felix Trinidad in 2 rounds has thrown, by CompuBox numbers, only 46 punches. Hopkins throwing twice as many, not landing all that much, but the one big right hand was the biggest blow of the fight.
You don't want to get a kid like that mad. Once you hit him once, get back on him and do something. Trinidad is on the mark.
What do you mean by that, George?
He's on the ball of that right foot. When you see him up on his right foot like that, he's on the mark, getting ready to deliver like a track runner or something. Take off. You got to keep him off that position. You got to keep him out of that position.
And how? How do you keep him out of that position?
By moving to his left, so he always have to pick that foot up and set it down. Now he's off. Now
Hopkins says he'll be watching his feet as much as his hands, just for that reason.
Hopkins varying the pace just a little, leading with the left hook there instead of the jab. Now Trinidad fires his own right hand across the top and gets the top of Hopkins' head.
He allowed Trinidad to get set that time, and he paid for it.
The range is closing up a little. Trinidad moving closer. And Tito beginning to loosen up and throw a few more punches than was the case in the first couple of rounds.
Hopkins' back is starting to touch the ring, the ropes a lot more. That's what you don't want, letting your back touch the ropes with Trinidad.
So you think Hopkins wants to stay in the middle of the ring and box with Tito?
Yeah, he can box, and he's always successful if he boxes, but you don't want your back touching those ropes.
Hands up.
You don't need the whole ring to box, just the middle of it. That's the fight that Hopkins won. Either way, the service win, huh?
Yeah, either way, the tattoo's already fading as the sweat pours off of Hopkins' body here in round 3.
But Bernard Hopkins isn't fading.
No, and the bet looks pretty good, at least for the moment, as he gives Trinidad a spirited fight.
Bernard Hopkins is dictating the tempo, and he's making Trinidad think about coming more to him.
Hopkins sticks the jab right on the point of Trinidad's chin as round 3 comes to a close. Round 4 begins. Harold Letterman, how'd you score the first 3?
Okay, Jim, I got a 2-1, 29-28, Bernard Hopkins. Jim, the first round, I thought Tito Trinidad caught Hopkins good. When Bernard would take that step to the right and rush in, Tito caught him on the way out. But in rounds 2 and 3, it's that Hopkins left jab, boxing from the outside, the occasional straight right hand, landing the cleaner shots, outboxing him.
Trinidad opens up, lands 2 power shots. Hopkins tries to fire back immediately. Trinidad misses with the right. Hopkins lands his own. Backs Tito up. Fires a left hook. Trinidad getting as good as he dishes out. Now lands the short right hand inside. Power against power. Which man is stronger at close range? Felix Trinidad only threw 67 punches in the first 3 rounds of the fight by CompuBox numbers. That's a very limited offensive output. He has begun to fire here in round 4, but Hopkins is firing back and lands a right hand to the body there.
Clean jabs by Hopkins.
Bernard Hopkins said that this fight would be his defining moment. So far, he's had pockets of brilliance and seems to be getting Trinidad, for the most part, to fight his fight. But there have been moments here in round 4 when Tito seemed to be turning the tide.
Hopkins intending to move like this is a good idea that he did weigh in at 157. That can help him.
Off the neck, off the arrow.
As Trinidad sized Hopkins up in the corner, Hopkins landed 3 punches in a row. Then Felix went to the body as Bernard moved away.
Bernard, once again, is spending too much time on the ropes.
So far, Hopkins has completely neutralized the left hand of Trinidad. Can Trinidad find a way to put him on the defensive without that left hand? The right hand fails there.
Hard right hand by Hopkins, lands flush. Bernard Hopkins' trainer, Bowie Fisher, is not nearly as well known as Felix Trinidad Sr., but Fisher is a 73-year-old proven pro who knows every trick in the book and has done a brilliant job of training Hopkins throughout his career.
He told him to try to jab with Trinidad. That's not a good idea. Don't jab with him. You catch him off balance and then jab him, because he turns that jab into a hook once you start trying to step in with power. Trinidad does. He will wait until he's finished and then get him.
Bernard continually moving to his left to stay away from Trinidad's left, and he steps in and bangs his right hand against the side of Trinidad's head. Hopkins misses the right, Trinidad misses the left. Hopkins fires a little left hook inside.
Off the neck, Bernard. Punch now.
Hopkins is doing a good job of staying over there, making Trinidad throw those left hooks. That's where you want to be, because he's a bit more accurate with his right hands, Trinidad is. Make him miss with left hook. Don't try to make him miss with the right hands.
Solid left by Trinidad. Trinidad seeming to take a little velocity off the left, just trying to land it.
Hopkins is not making the mistake that Joppy did by letting Trinidad lay on his left hand. He holds him.
And certainly not making the mistake that both Joppy and Vargas made of standing in front of Trinidad. He hasn't done much of that.
Hopkins is outboxing Trinidad, and he's winning most of the rallies.
Yeah, but Hopkins has used a lot of his footwork, legs up, moving around. That's not good.
He's got his back against the ropes. He's living dangerously. He's still outscoring Trinidad. He's landing 2 punches to every one for Trinidad.
Step.
They fight after the bell, and Hopkins dishes out twice as much. When Oscar De La Hoya came out and appeared to many eyes at ringside to win the first 7 rounds against Felix Trinidad, none of the 3 judges sitting at ringside scored it exactly that way. Right now, there's a chance that in the eyes of many here, Bernard Hopkins has won the first 5 rounds against Trinidad. Will the judges once again insist on giving rounds to Trinidad when he doesn't seem to be winning any of them? That's what happened against De La Hoya.
This is the kind of champ, Trinidad, that you're going to have to knock him out to win it. You may as well forget trying to win this thing on points. If you want the title that he possessed, you got to knock him out.
So you're saying that Bernard shouldn't fool himself into believing that he's succeeding just because he seems to be winning the round?
No, you can't coach yourself to a victory with a champion like this. The judges are not going to allow you to do it. And I think this pace is a little too much for Bernard Hopkins. He's used too much of his legs early on.
Well, certainly Trinidad hasn't overused his. He's only thrown 23 punches per round, which is a very low punch output by CompuBox numbers. Now Trinidad lands a big right hand against the ropes, but Hopkins steps away and lands in return. Remember Trinidad's amazing stamina. Hopkins lands a right, Trinidad lands a left. Felix is a marathon runner who builds the tempo from round to round, and he's trying to build it with the left hook right here. 4 straight left hands by Trinidad.
Hopkins blocked almost every one of those punches.
And there's no sign yet that Hopkins is wearing down.
Oh, yes, there are a lot of signs.
But Trinidad's cornering him. What are the signs that he's wearing down?
He went to his ring, to his corner, and laid his legs flat out. Trinidad is still sitting in a sitting position.
Hopkins looks pretty good here as he backs Trinidad up with a combination. A furious pace in round 6, by far the best round of the fight.
Back to the ropes again, Hopkins.
They begin to trade power shots at close range, and this is Trinidad's game.
You can't play power shots with Trinidad because every time he hits you, you are still lingering on. The damage lingers on and starts to accumulate.
Trinidad ripping left hooks now. And he pushes Hopkins' head back, and Smoker says, don't do it again. Round 6 was a beauty.
Hopkins with 2 left hands, quick little left hands. That was a clean, hard shot, which Trinidad seemed to take well. Trinidad aggressive, perhaps a little frustrated at the end.
You're not going to find this kind of determination often in a fight as you see in FELIX Trinidad.
Why don't you want to give Hopkins more credit, George? He's fighting a terrific fight so far.
He's doing a great job, but this determination of this guy keeps coming back. It just takes everything out of your legs, takes everything out of your heart.
Well, they're both champions.
Between rounds, Felix Trinidad asked his father in the corner, am I winning the fight? And Trinidad Sr. said, yes, you are. Harold Letterman, how have you scored it through 6?
I'll give you 4 rounds to 2, 58-56, Bernard Hopkins. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd ever see Bernard Hopkins win his fight with an outside game, but that's what he's doing. Staying outside, popping a jab, coming back with the straight right hands. In that round 6, I just thought Felix Trinidad was a little bit the aggressor, got into better shots. I've given Trinidad rounds 1 and 6, all the rest to Hopkins.
Hopkins trying to load up with that quick right hand. Everything is trying to execute what his trainer told him to do, throw the quick right hand. And Trinidad catches you in that exchange, it's top trouble time.
More and more, George, Trinidad is able to land his left hook. Why?
Well, Hopkins is giving him the left hook because if he's able to land one jab and stay a little closer, he's always able to get the left hook off. I don't worry about the left hook if I'm
Don't punch, don't punch.
Hopkins. I worry about that right hand.
Trinidad stalking relentlessly, imposing mental pressure on Hopkins as he does on all of his opponents. Even when technically outgunned, Felix Trinidad is always coming.
Always coming. Good thing about Hopkins is he's not allowing Trinidad to get up on that right foot. He's making him keep it flat. That's what you want. If he's going to hit you, let him be out of position to do it good. Ooh, fainting.
Chopping right hand by Hopkins. The second one partially blocked. Crowd oohing and eyeing as Hopkins continues to score, exceeding the expectations of many.
That's not like a Philadelphia fighter at all, fainting.
George, there's been a lot of great boxers out of Philadelphia, and you couldn't survive the famous gym wars of Philadelphia if you couldn't box.
Yeah, this guy's boxing tonight.
Oscar De La Hoya exposed the vulnerability of Trinidad, and Bernard Hopkins is trying to use that model to dominate the fight.
Yes, particularly Trinidad's vulnerability to feints and movement. Hopkins said to me, I'm no De La Hoya, but I saw that Felix fell for every feint against Oscar, so I'll be using them too. In round 7 by CompuBox numbers, Hopkins landed 18 punches to only 6 for Trinidad. If you go by CompuBox numbers, Hopkins has outlanded Tito in every round.
You know, there are a lot of people out there who never heard of Bernard Hopkins. He hasn't had a lot of big television fights. We're hearing about him and seeing him now.
You're seeing the hunger of a 36-year-old man who's waited a long time for this moment.
A geriatric wonder.
Tito gets him against the ropes.
I'd like to see what happened in the 10, 11, and 12 with the geriatrics.
You can go back 8 years in this sport and you won't find a fight in which either man was declared a loser. And it's abundantly clear now that neither man came here tonight expecting to lose. Hopkins believes. Whether Trinidad will be able to beat the belief out of him remains to be seen. But right now Bernard is showing a multiplicity of skills as he continues to outbox Tito.
I don't believe what I'm seeing. I don't believe it.
And now Trinidad shuffles his own feet to try to dazzle Bernard, and Bernard says, you shuffle a while, I'll hit you.
Trinidad is playing into Hopkins' hand now with the foolishness. His job is always, he's been always the pure business fighter.
Neither man has gone to the body as much as he might. Maybe the critical difference will come in the next few rounds if one man decides to focus on the ribcage. They're both terrific body punches.
I think the body punches is gone out of the window now.
Tito ripping with both hands, trying to break Bernard down with power shots. Hopkins countering back twice with the left hook.
No punch, no punch.
All night, Trinidad has been trying to lay on Hopkins' left hand, but Hopkins seems to get his left hand right out of the trap and hold Trinidad. If he's able to just lay on that left hand of Hopkins once, he's going to get him with that overhand right. Age has got nothing to do with it tonight. All about the best fighter who can take it.
Harold Letterman gave Tito Trinidad the first round, I think, generously. Now, even on Letterman's card, we're reaching the stage where Trinidad would need a knockout to win if Hopkins can stand up the rest of the way.
Trinidad has tried to get in those left uppercuts. He's tried. And that's where he can ring home if he can just get them in.
And the biggest thing Hopkins has accomplished by my lights is he's just refusing to bend to Tito's will. He's still making Tito fight his fight. Another big surprise is that it is so far a clean fight without a single penalized foul.
A shot.
The closest we came was Trinidad elbowing Hopkins beyond the rope. Bowie Fischer tells Bernard Hopkins if he keeps firing the jab, he can't lose the fight. He's still firing the jab energetically.
There's Trinidad able to lay on Hopkins' left hand now. That's what he's been trying to do all night. Overhand right on top of it. That's what he's waiting on.
Trinidad got in a good shot on Hopkins' neck. Bernard lands a straight right hand up the pipe, and that gives him room to move off the ropes. And for the first time in the fight, Hopkins is grinning at Tito Trinidad.
He was able to hit him with the right hand and move out of the way.
And there's another big right hand. And again, he moves out of the way.
Very smart. Didn't say, I heard you, I'm going to get you some more. Hit you and get out of the way.
And another right hand for Hopkins. This is a cold, clinical, totally professional performance by a true professional prize fighter, Bernard Hopkins.
Here we see straight right hand, but Hopkins is not loading up on these right hands. He's throwing short, quick punches and getting out of the way of the return.
Like I said, cold and clinical. He is not allowing himself to get into the heat of Trinidad's passion. He's boxing, moving, and winning.
And that's hard to do when you hurt a guy and don't go after the finish. This man is being extremely smart tonight, Hopkins.
Once again between rounds, Tito Trinidad asked his father if he's winning, and once again, Trinidad Sr. said, yes, you are.
I think Trinidad is asking that question because he doesn't really think he's winning.
No, I think he wore the most discouraged look I've ever seen on his face between rounds. Harold, how do you have it going into the 10th?
Okay, Jim, 7 rounds to 2, 88-83, Bernard Hopkins. You know what I can't understand is Bernard Hopkins and Felix Trinidad standing face to face. Bernard Hopkins gets up first every time he lands the jab with a straight right. We think Felix would come in on an angle, but he just stays right in front of him. Bernard gets off first and hurts him all the time.
When a guy is as good a puncher as Trinidad, he depends on that. He expects that somewhere along the way it will pay the difference. And if it doesn't, what are his answers against Bernard Hopkins?
Trinidad got the left hand on. He's leaning on the Hopkins' left hand now. That's what he wants. Hopkins better be careful. That's it. Puts his weight on your left hand and throws his overhand right. Oh, Hopkins beating him to the punch, though.
You know, George, Trinidad has landed some big shots, but he hasn't hurt Hopkins. After the Joppy fight, there seemed to be no question about Trinidad's viability as a 160-pound fighter, a middleweight. But maybe the question reopens itself as the result of the way that Hopkins has been able to take Trinidad's punches tonight.
Oh, it's not all about that. Hopkins has been extremely smart tonight. Extremely smart.
Trinidad is spending a lot of himself right here because he's been taking punishment. We're seeing the heart of a real champion in Trinidad because he's come through some serious fire.
This is the determination of Felix Trinidad.
Trinidad is going to have to take some chances.
And it's being matched by the determination of Bernard Hopkins. What an awesome show. What a great, great fight as we come down the stretch in the 10th round.
Blood coming out of Trinidad's nose.
Bernard Hopkins won't take no for an answer. Steve Smoger trying to pull Hopkins' trunks up. Clock still running. Trinidad running out of time. Most of the crowd on its feet as they watch the two fighters trade through the round and beyond.
And Trinidad almost looks out on his feet. The end of the round, Bernard Hopkins' patience during that fight resulted in that round, but you heard the question in Trinidad's corner, can you fight him?
And that was the ring doctor who wanted to know if Trinidad could continue. So the doctors are watching Trinidad now as Hopkins comes off a big 10th round where he landed 33 of 86 punches. They go into the 11th. Hopkins has been beyond 10 rounds 14 times in his career. Trinidad 8. Hopkins with a prohibitive lead on Harold Letterman's scorecard as we come to the last 2 rounds.
It was a push. A lot of punches, but it was a push. Trinidad is very timid right now.
Hopkins senses that Trinidad is weakening.
Very weak. Got to be careful with him. He's still that powerful puncher.
Good uppercut by Hopkins. Trinidad visibly tiring for the moment. Bernard Hopkins bet $100,000 on himself to win the fight.
Guess he doesn't want to lose that $100,000.
This is another huge round for Hopkins. Trinidad has landed maybe 2 punches in the round. Bernard is taking target practice. Overwhelmingly pro-Trinidad crowd trying to lift their man. Hopkins just keeps pounding away. Astonishing, absolutely astonishing performance.
Sometimes when a fighter is labeled a kind of a genius, he's bound to disappoint you.
Big right hand by Hopkins.
Disappointed us, Larry. This guy has been a fox and a terror, Bernard Hopkins.
Trinidad is hurt.
Everything we would not expect, he's been that and more.
Everything. Trinidad is hurt from the accumulation of punishment as round 11 comes to a close. Now let's see what he's got for what might be the last-ditch round of his career. Harold, how do you have it coming to the 12th?
Okay, Jim. 108, 101, 9 rounds to 2. Bernard Hopkins. I only gave Tito Trinidad rounds 1 and 6. All the rest to Bernard Hopkins, boxing beautifully from the outside.
Get out, get out.
Hopkins better go for safety and get a knockout. You just can't trust judges.
Well, Hopkins still wants to fight. He's not sitting on his lead. He's seen somebody try to do that against Trinidad without success. Hopkins imposing his will and his skill on the man who is tonight the lesser fighter.
Trinidad continues to come.
He'll never quit. He'll never stop coming.
No retreat.
Oh, huge right hand. Huge right hand by Hopkins. Down goes Trinidad. I'm not sure Tito can get up. He's got the desire. He's never been knocked out. This fight is over. Steve Smoker stops it. No.
Bernard
Tito Trinidad comes in.
has done it.
He knocked out Trinidad.
Bernard Hopkins has put himself up there in the list of all the great middleweights. His 14th consecutive defense of his title. Trinidad, a beaten man. He was beaten boxing, and then he was beaten physically. He was beaten with the smarts of Bernard Hopkins. He was beaten with the heart of Bernard Hopkins. What a performance.
I'd like to find my words so I could eat them.
Oh, what brilliance. Oh, what brilliance. Here's a guy who tonight, just as he has through his whole career, did it his way. He insisted on his individuality, his right to govern his career and his life on his own terms. It's cost him a lot. He got it all back tonight.
You know, there was a lot of inspiration in New York City for the United States flag, and he bit into the inspiration.
There's your winner in a big way. And at Felix Tito Trinidad, who had never before been so physically beaten up in his career, never before knocked out, goes down in the middle of the 12th round and cannot continue as Bernard Hopkins punctuates a huge and thrilling and unexpected victory with a sensational power shot show in the 12th round. Oh, what a right hand, George.
What a right hand, every shot. This guy was so, I never thought his legs could last, but I guess those 150 pounds, exactly what he needed to move around.
157 pounds, 3 pounds under the limit. Some people thought, oh no, he'll be too weak. He wasn't too weak. He was too strong.
He tricked us all. He tricked us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 1 minute, 18 seconds in round number 12. Our referee in charge, Steve Smoger, recognizes the corner and stops the contest. the winner by way of technical knockout. Tonight earning his place in boxing history as he is now the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
Baby. Stand still. God damn it. Do that.
Bernard Hopkins is telling people, I'm not great yet, but I will be. At 36, he still thinks he has time to get better. Bernard, why were you able to master a fighter who is considered so devastating?
Well, first, Larry, I'd like to thank HBO, all the people. I'd like to thank my advisor and my friend, Lou DiBella, for giving me the opportunity not to take the bad rap that was on Bernard Hopkins. And I'd like to thank you for being not biased, but being truthful, and everybody at HBO. Larry, I'd like to first, hope that the troops and things work out okay. With America, USA is strong. We will knock anybody out that try to go against us. Larry, I trained hard for this fight. I always have a good soundbite to give everyone. I'm not a dog guy, but I wanted to show my greatness, and I believe I came halfway doing that.
Was there a little misdirection in you indicating that you were just going to try to dive into him and smother him when you knew all along that you felt that you could show the skills to outbox him that people didn't think you had?
Yes, Larry. One thing I knew, and I mentioned it all through the media, I said, once Trinidad find out he can't hurt me, the fight's over. Larry, I got one of the Philadelphia chins, iron chins, but I just happen to have skills with it. But I knew, Larry, that if I take my time, set my shots up, as long as the fight come, the more pain that I was going to put on Trinidad. I just like to thank HBO for giving me the opportunity. I just thank you for saying the good things about me when I do good. I ain't gonna let you talk.
How were you able to avoid his potent left hand?
Well, Larry, you take the best weapon from the guy that they're used against you. If the guy has a gun, you get to the gun. You don't run from it because you got a better chance on smothering or got a better chance on getting to the gun. I had to take his left hand away from him and smother his shots and keep my defense up, a good defense. But I do have a good defense just as well as an offense. Trinidad is a left hook guy. That's all he had. And I've been watching him for years. Once I took his left hook away, and every time he set up, I watched his leg and his feet, and I knew to move to the opposite way. God bless the fire department in the Philadelphia, the police, Philadelphia, all around the world. Larry, they are the Warriors. I'm serious.
What does it mean to you now to have
in Philadelphia
tied Carlos Monzon's middleweight record of 14 consecutive defenses?
It's great, Larry. It's history. But I want to be judged by my peers, not by me reading my own articles. I think when it's all done, Bernard Hopkins will be known as one of the greatest middleweights that came along at all times. I don't want to say that. I want the world and the public to judge me, and I can live with whatever they come up with. But in my heart, I knew that I would get another chance in life to redeem myself from what I used to be into what I am now. I can show example not only for boxing, but for people in general. Larry, I am the American dream. I am the American story.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Congratulations
Larry,
again.
As always, you're looking younger, not older.
So do you.
Great fighters fight each other. Trinidad, I thank you. One for you getting this tournament, I wouldn't have got a chance to show my greatness. But anytime, hold up, I'm not just saying this ain't politics. I run my own show, I'm my own manager. Whenever you need a chance to redeem yourself, I gotta get the millions, we can do it. I'm not a guy that duck people. All right, that's on record. Y'all hear that, reporters? Great show, Trinidad. I will come back to San Juan. Listen, me and Lou DiBella Entertainment, Don King will come back to San Juan, and I'm a man. I will apologize to the Puerto Rican fans for throwing the flag down from my heart, because that's a true champion. We set it up within a month, and I'll be there. Okay. Is that good? Thank you. I hope y'all accept it.
Dígale que yo.
Don, you hear that?
Yo quisiera eso también. Yo quisiera.
San Juan.
I would like.
In the same arena, and I want to apologize to the Puerto Rican fans, but they are great people. They are my people. They got black in them.
One second.
Okay.
Yo quisiera
Don King, I like to thank Don King Production.
Que quiere ir a Puerto Rico.
I like to thank Don.
Yo quisiera también, como él dijo, que quisiera disculparse con todos los puertorriqueños en San Juan, donde sea. Quisiera que pueda ir a San Juan y disculparse con todos los puertorriqueños personalmente.
He says he would go to Puerto Rico and ask to be forgiven for what he did. I would love for him to do that.
Thank you very much. Tito, were you surprised or shocked at how well Bernard Hopkins was able to box?
¿Te sorprendió o te asombró lo bueno que él pudo boxear?
Sí, yo sé que yo siempre lo he dicho, que él es un gran peleador, un hombre que tiene mucha defensa. No sé si se recuerdan, esas son mis palabras. Y demostró en la noche de hoy que es un gran campeón. Yo vine a ganar, pero me ganó, eso yo lo acepto.
I've always said Bernard Hopkins was a great fighter and a good boxer. I came to win. He beat me tonight. I accept it.
All right, tell us, Tito, before the fight, they made you rewrap your hands in a different way, with only one layer of gauze and tape instead of 2 layers of tape. Did that affect your power?
Antes de la pelea te hicieron que te vendara las manos otra vez con solamente una línea de paratrapo. ¿Eso te afectó el poder tuyo?
No, yo soy siempre un gran pegador. No importa, sinceramente no importa la manera que me venden, si mi padre me va a vender con todo el corazón.
I'm a great puncher. It doesn't matter how my hands were bandaged. It was just, that's the way it went.
Did you realize toward the end of the fight that you needed a knockout to win?
¿Estabas tú pendiente, realizabas tú que necesitabas un knockout al final de la pelea para ganar?
Es posible, de verdad que la pelea, yo pienso que la pelea estaba bien pareja. Voy y repito, Bernal es un gran peleador. Me dio buenos golpes, yo también le di buenos golpes a él. Fue inteligente y de verdad que como quiera hay que aceptarlo porque me ganó. Y es un gran peleador, yo lo he dicho.
It was possible that I might have needed a knockout, but I thought that the fight was very close and that I could still win without having to knock him out.
When you went down at the end, how surprising was that for you, having never ever lost a professional prize fight?
Cuando tú te caíste a lo último, ¿cuánto te sorprendió eso? En saber que nunca tú habías perdido una pelea profesional.
Sí, es verdad, yo nunca había caído más de una sola vez. Sinceramente, estaba bien consciente de que me había tumbado nuevamente y estaba tratando de recuperarme lo antes posible. Pero el árbitro detuvo el combate, de verdad que yo acepto lo que hizo el árbitro, no hay problema.
I went down, but I wasn't hurt. I was conscious of what was going on. He hit me hard, but and I accept that the referee stopped the fight.
All right, now that a Roy Jones fight is out of the picture, will you try for a rematch with De La Hoya?
Ahora que la pelea de Roy Jones no parece que se va a dar, pues, ¿tratarías tú por una revancha con De La Hoya?
No, yo siempre he dicho, y siempre hemos dicho que vamos a analizar mi futuro. Yo, de volver a pelear, eso lo tengo que discutir mi padre y yo. Yo soy un gran peleador, no importa que haya perdido. Yo me repongo y vuelvo y gano, no importa. Pero en la noche de hoy, pues, tuve mi primera derrota, no hay problema.
I'm a fighter, and I'll fight anybody. I'm a great champion, and I have to discuss it with my dad and see what goes on.
Thank you very much. You've been a champion. Thank you for putting up the best fight you could against a great fighter tonight.
Y quiero decirle que siempre he respetado de gran manera a HBO, a toda la gente del boxeo.
I want to let everybody know that I have always respected HBO and everybody in boxing.
Y espero que tanto a mí como a todos los boxeadores siempre lo respeten porque el boxeo es un deporte duro.
Boxing is a very hard sport, and I want respect, and I wish that all fighters were respected also.
Y como yo sé que ellos también me respetan a mí.
And I know that the HBO respects me.
Que lo sigan haciendo.
And I would love that they would keep doing it.
Y que en el futuro sigan habiendo grandes peleadores y grandes campeones.
And then in the future there would be great fighters and great fights.
Peleando por HBO.
Fighting on HBO.
Okay, no me aguanto.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, champ.